Seth, if you see this, I recognize a lot of potential in your speeches, but I think you have a few things to work on. Yet before I get into any critique, let's get into some positives. I really liked how you were able to inject yourself in the audience as you spoke. You talked about those leaps of faith and stepping into the unknown. How you also were still working through how to be a good public speaker. I think this is often an overlooked aspect in public speaking. People can very easily present themselves as being on a pedestal or an ivory tower, never willing to stoop down and be beside the common man. I think with you being very open and honest allows for the audience to really connect with you, which is great. Another thing that I liked about your speech was that you're able to challenge the audience towards the second half of it. Your speech had a strong call to action for your audience to not just sit idly by in the sidelines, but to be actively pursuing these skills so that they too can step into the duty of giving public speeches. However, there were a lot of categorical issues that I found throughout your speech. The first being your introduction, or the lack thereof. You didn't really offer any clear thesis at the beginning, nor were there any introductory phrases or greetings. Your beginning should really have a hook, or some type of quote or line that gets your audience invested and interested in what you have to say. Marshall Poe, in his book, A History of Communication, talks about some of the ways that audio-visual stories are presented. He says that drama pretends to show us life in all its richness, and it succeeds so well that it can and does trick almost everyone. Meaning that as you present, you want to be dramatic and really get your audience invested in what you have to say. There was not really any of that in your speech. You just moved right into defining what public speaking is and starting off your speech basically in the body of it. You could have used some transitionary words like, now let me lay some groundwork in definitions, or something similar to establish that you're going to offer a definition and show that you are introducing the main focus of your speech. Now let's talk about your presentation. Having a small camera in the top right really diminishes your speech, as you can't really see your person. Consider bringing yourself to the forefront when you really want to give some emphasis on a point. It also felt like you were just reading off of the slides. Thus, there was not really a lot of slide uniqueness in that presentation. You were just kind of reading lines of text. So consider adding some complexity and diversity, like images or something else that could represent ideas. Your delivery was also very slow. While being thoughtful can help as you speak, there were a few times that I felt like I was just ready for the next set of words to come a little faster than how you were speaking. I know speaking slowly allows you to think about what you're going to say, but if you never change your tempo or cadence, your audience will begin to feel like the speech is just dragging on, which is not at all what you want to occur. You want to keep their attention throughout the whole time. Reforming Journalism by Martin Wolaski talks about how to use an active voice in your speech. He says that being passive can show guilt as if you're making a mistake, while active displays strength and confidence in what you're saying. So consider using some stronger words in your speeches. Your sources also felt a little dry and unenthusiastic, more of a brief reference which aligned with what you're trying to say. They were sort of tucked in without really proper reference or reverence for who they were or their credentials and why they're so helpful in your main points. This also led to a more repetitive conclusion. While repetition can really be helpful and drill into what you're trying to express to the audience, yours felt like it was stretched a bit more than it needed to be. You could talk about how in Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics, Aristotle is always alert to the natural way that important words have more than one meaning, which means that in your emphasis, make the words matter, not just repeating them to make a point. But I think if you really worked on these areas, you could see a lot of improvement and growth, though these are just a few of my thoughts. So thanks for listening.